start? All right, welcome everybody. We are live here to talk about raising a family while investing in real estate. This is a challenge for many of my clients and many people who I met, many people who I meet. And sometimes you meet people who say they'll never get around to fulfilling their dreams and creating financial freedom and investing in real estate because they have too many obligations and with raising a family and holding their day job. And I want to connect you guys with some people who have not only done this, but have successfully found a way to balance their family life, any other responsibilities and obligations with building a portfolio that continues to grow and prosper. And we're going to discuss how we've created this balance and found a way. So not only is this something that we can balance, it's not something to compromise. Our goals in real estate and reaching financial freedom is actually going to help us enrich our lives and enrich that of those around us in our families, and can also help us with our circumstances with creating that success and also saving money on taxes, which I know we all love to do. And we're going to talk about all the strategies and techniques that everybody here has implemented. So welcome everybody. As you guys are tuning in, I would love it for everyone to just put your questions into the Q&A section. I'd love to see your comments. We all want to hear from you. I have some questions that I'm going to ask the audience, and we're going to talk about everyone's situation, and then we are going to get to the audience questions, and I'd love to hear everybody just interact, share ideas on this really important topic. So to start off, we have our four awesome guests. We got Daniel Holmlund, who is a multifamily investor and syndicator. Rachelle Rayner, also a multifamily investor and syndicator. Cam Chen, who is investing in a variety of real estate investments and also a realtor, and John Pacilio. But I want you guys to introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little bit about what you do. So let's go. Let's start off first. Who wants to go first and give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you're working on and what you do?
Yeah, I'll kick it off, Mark. So I'm actually excited to hear from this panel. I've met Cam. I think I met you were you at the Bigger Pockets conference last year? Okay, so I did meet you. Rachelle, I met you earlier this year. Daniel, excited to meet you after this and talk further. So my name is Jonathan Pacilio. I originally grew up in northern New Jersey all my life until college and came down here to the South. So my 1-minute backstory is really about growing up wanting to work on Wall Street, right? I kind of grew up in the 80s and 90s. So the movie Wall Street and Boiler Room was kind of what set my expectations of making money, which was kind of ridiculous. However, what I realized is that I was not probably going to actually make it to an Ivy League school to make it on Wall Street in New York City. So I did the very next best thing, which has actually come to Charlotte, North Carolina, believe it or not, which was at the time the second biggest banking city. Went to school 4 years in and out, actually landed in the banking industry at Bank of America for several years, maybe almost 15. Ultimately, I've spent 20 years in the financial services industry. So I've actually been in real estate or had a couple of real estate investments for over 10 years, but very passive, not looking to grow, not actively managing it. I didn't have the challenge of having a family, but what I realized is how passive it isn't. And if you don't put any effort into it, it's really not going to grow for you. But my niche now, my story about growing, and it's a wide range of experts here. My niche at the moment is actually short-term rentals. It's sort of balancing real estate investing with running your own hotel business, right? So it gives you that fast cash flow growth potential without a massive amount of understanding, money, partners, and but you're running a business. It's definitely not passive, and there's more intensity to growing that, but the cash flow is there to alter any path that you want to do. I happen to have 20 years now of being a risk officer in the financial services industry, which is great because it allowed me to build a risk appetite and a risk approach to investing, which is it's a very boring part of investing, but it's so critical to have that understanding. So to wrap that up, 20 years in the financial services industry, which I'm marching towards exiting. My niche at the moment, like Mark said, there's a couple, I think Cam's in a myriad of deals and a myriad of niches, if you will, and investigating those things. I'm doing the same, but my current niche to fast track my exit of my career is in the short-term rental, or what you would more easily understand as the Airbnb business.
Great. And tell us about your kids.
Yeah, so I actually am doing more with two children. I have two young children with my beautiful wife, Kim, a 3.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. So I don't know, time management is difficult enough, but with that chaos, it is so difficult to really manage the goals that you have that are super important to you, and to prioritize things that really aren't, and that you could start pushing to the side. I don't have the luxury of knowing if it gets easier from a time management perspective as your kids get older, and I'm actually excited to hear about these folks. But that is my biggest, yeah. Okay, so I'm hoping the self-sufficiency helps at all, but maybe not, right? I get it last night, got up at 11 and 3, right? So I'm not sleeping at all. I'm just doing random things, but two great kids. Again, it actually propelled me to be more productive, but it has been an unbelievable challenge at literally managing my 24 hours a day to accomplish my goals.
Great. All right, who wants to go next?
Rachel?
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rachelle Rayner, and I actually live in Westchester, New York currently. I'm originally from Canada, the eastern side of Canada, Prince Edward Island. You probably have never heard of it, but look it up. It's very beautiful. So I have 2 children and a wonderful husband. So I have a 11-year-old and I have a just turned 2-year-old. So life is very chaotic for me. On top of that, I work a full-time job in the real estate development space. I've done that for my entire career, everything from construction, development, management, and now risk management. I'm also a real estate syndicator. I run a local real estate meetup group, Westchester Real Estate Investors. There's about 1,500 people in the group. I founded that group myself. And my co-host, Adam Churko, we run that together. And so on top of that, I'm also a podcast host of What's the Deal? So you can look that up. So I have a lot of stuff going on. I've done a lot of things in the real estate investing space, from house hacking to short-term rentals. And so, you know, as I start to move through my life more, you know, my goals and my why has certainly changed. You know, I meet a lot of people who are entering the real estate industry and looking to invest, and you know, they look to get, you know, they look for a means to an end. So, you know, I'll hear them starting off in wholesaling, or they'll start off in, you know, fix and flips, or, you know, a very active form of investing. For me, I'm looking to pull away from that and to become more passive, because I see the power of investing passively and what it can do for you. And so very excited to be a part of this panel and, you know, just share some things on how, you know, I manage my time. I think I have to give a shout out to my wonderful husband, who is very, very supportive. I would not be able to be the person that I am and do all the things that I do without him. You know, I made a comment today on a Facebook forum of a lady complaining about her boyfriend. I don't know her. I don't think she's on this live stream, so I will go and share this. But, you know, she was complaining that her boyfriend does not show any interest in what she does. And so I, you know, proceeded to respond and say, you know, my husband is not interested in discussing or learning anything about real estate investing. However, here's a list of all the reasons why I'm okay with that. He hands over his checkbook. He hands over his credit card. He's supportive. He cheers me on. He watches the kids so I can do these live stream events. And so without him, I could not be successful. So I owe him, you know, everything to, you know, just I'm so grateful for the partnership that we have, the understanding that we have. And so I think that the number one thing to be successful in this is having a supportive spouse.
Oh, totally.
All right, how about you next, Kim?
Um, let's see, I'm Cam Chan. I am a realtor here in Silicon Valley in Northern California. I have been, this is sort of my second, third career. I started out as a business strategy specialist. I started out working for the US Embassy in China in the commercial service section. So next time you go to, China and other places like that, and you have a cup of coffee from Starbucks, you can thank our team. Because that's what we did. We helped American companies to break into various markets. So that was the beginning of my career and the trajectory of where I was wanting to go, which was in the international career path. And but then I followed a boy, came back to the US and clipped my wings and settled in Silicon Valley for the last 20 years, 23 years, 22 years. Fantastic decision because we have 3 beautiful children. They're older now. David is 15, and then our twins are 13, well, soon to be 13. So pivoted a couple of times for the family because I came back to the US and I had graduated from school here, went to, grew up here, and not in Northern California, so in Tennessee and then Southern California. But what I found was when I came back, the first thing you do is you go into consulting, yeah, because that's what you do as a business strategist. You do consulting work. That's how you usually can find a quick job. And so I ended up traveling across the US. So it was great to come home and be with this great guy and start a family together, but then we never saw each other. So I pivoted again, took a 60% pay cut, went to Stanford, where I was the finance administrative manager for various departments and whatnot, which was wonderful because we did have our kids. But when I found out that I was having twins, the cost was prohibitive for us to have the care for the kids that we wanted. And so I completely quit and started working in my passion project, which was real estate. So what happens when you kind of pivot and do something, you just kind of do it to the extreme. So I renovated a house, we moved into a new house and all of this stuff, and then started working, started a property management company while I was starting my part-time real estate career. And it wasn't until the twins got to first grade, where they were solidly in first grade and seems to be all settled a little bit, that I really pursue my passion. And the thing that kind of is easy and everyone tells you to do is become a salesperson, which is great because I like helping people. So I became a full-time realtor about 7 years ago. And that was been really wonderful, but it also helped me to allow me the freedom to have the time to devote into my passion too, which is investing in real estate and helping others to invest in real estate. So now I am pretty excited because I execute on that in the past year or so. The strategies that I've been learning, I'm a little conservative, so study, and then last year I pulled the trigger and started doing the work. And so I'm pretty excited about seeing some of the first turns that we're seeing and seeing the numbers as they come in. So I'm pretty excited about that. So very lucky. I'm a little bit over the hump of having younger kids. I can tell you that it gets a little bit easier in some ways and harder in others. Bigger kids, bigger problem. But yeah, no, I'm excited.
And you, Daniel?
All right. Thanks for having me on, Mark. When you originally contacted me to talk about balancing family work and real estate investment, I didn't realize you wanted us to be successful at doing that. So no, it is quite hard. Just a little bit about me. My name is Daniel Holmlund. I partner with investors to purchase cash flowing apartment buildings. And my business is Alon Capital, and you can find me at the winmultifamily.com site. So I have been involved in this for about 3 years. I work full time at Intel. I'm a software developer trainer there. So I get to work with lots of really interesting people that are doing software. And I also run the real estate investment club at Intel. And so we got a really nice group there, a couple hundred people that are meeting every Friday on Skype to talk about real estate. And so that's a little bit of my background.
Awesome. I had a client who works at Bank of America and was starting a group like that, but he was concerned that people would give them heat for creating that alternative form of income. But, I've met multiple people at BOA who were like, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. They have an interesting take, actually. It's the banks are like, they like making money themselves, but they do have lots of policies and regulations on even being a realtor, Cam. I'm a licensed realtor. Probably shouldn't say this if anybody else is on the from Wells on this call or on this stream, but they make it really, really difficult to do your own thing. They sort of say they have leeway, but then they as a company, they don't like it, but that's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's always interesting to run into different companies that have different cultures about clubs.
Mm-hmm.
At Intel, a lot of it was just finding out the HR people that I could work with to make sure that I really stayed within the guidelines and knew the right people in case something went wrong, and just built bridges before, launching something. And so far, it's crossed my fingers. It's worked out well.
Yeah.
Okay, so to keep things simple, let's keep this order of answering questions. So we got John, then Rachelle, then Cam, and then Daniel. Next question is going to be, what is the greatest challenge that you have found when it comes to balancing family life and investing? I have a feeling I know what you guys are going to say, but let's hear what you guys find is the greatest challenge with trying to create that balance and all of these things going on.
Yeah, I'm first, right? I think, Mark. Yep. So I'll actually throw what I think would be not something thought of first. So I echo Rachelle's comments about my wife being unbelievably supportive in what I want to do. I drive her nuts, okay? Like nuts. I don't know how she's still with me, to be honest with you. So I'm going to take a support angle, because anytime you're trying to do something like this, it's very unconventional. All right, you can read all the books in the world or watch late night infomercials and hear about all the success people have in real estate, but it takes an unbelievable amount of time, commitment, money, all these different things, right? Knowledge. But quite frankly, if you're on your own and completely single and have nobody that needs to rely on you, then what I'm about to say becomes a lot easier. But when you have somebody that you're counting on and is counting on you, your job is to not convince them of anything. It's to make sure that they're comfortable with why you need their support. And so time obviously is troubling, time management. The kids, of course that plays into it. But I think my answer would be about, and I struggled at it a long time. My wife and I remember one time, it's funny, she's going to get a kick out of this, but we were at a restaurant. I had it with my job. I just was like, I'm done. I'm quitting. So I told her, by the way, yeah, I'm done. I'm just leaving. Like, yeah, tomorrow. Right. And I was half joking, but half in like about to rage quit. And she's just like, yeah, it's not how this works. Right. I mean, you can't do that. Like she even said, like, I'll support you, but you got to show me a plan. So I will go that angle. I'll keep my answer short there, because to me, all I need is her support and I'm good. I'll do anything. And I've got that now, and we're building on that. But I've only actually really committed to this in the last 2 years, probably. And I think the last 6 months, even our trust level in each other and what we're trying to do has flourished tremendously. And so if you're going to do anything like this, go to again, I guess if you're single, don't worry about it. But you're gonna have to prep somebody for it eventually. go to that person, that partner. They're going to be all the money in the world, all the partners in the world. They're not going to actually help you be successful the way the support from a partner would be. So figure out your approach with that person, and don't do what I did, which is just like, yeah, I'm doing this, so I hope you like it. But that's what I would say. That's really hard to get buy-in from someone who doesn't understand it, right? I think Rachelle, I think it was you, maybe it was like, they're not interested in it. Or you heard that person was like, how do I get them to be interested? Don't get them to be, it's not their thing. You need to make them feel comfortable with your decision and why you need their support. That's what I would say is difficult.
Great. And Rachelle, same question to you. Greatest challenge.
So I think that one of the greatest, so there's two really big challenges that I faced and I've had to really overcome, and that was managing my expectations. So my expectations of my partner, like, just to kind of play off of what Jonathan said, is, not trying to convince them to get on board with me and listen to all the podcasts. And, I went down that road. I went down the road of, putting books on the coffee table and, putting books in his bag and, sending him, Facebook posts of certain, mindset things. And, and it ended up in huge disappointment. So managing your expectations is super important. And I think that, communicating is the other aspect of that. So, for me, it's like a major communication. Like if I'm going to have an event like this at night and I'm going to need him to watch the kids or put the kids to bed during this so we can keep things quiet and sane, it takes communication, like letting him know ahead of time, like not, an hour before, hey, are you coming home from work? I have a, so I had to really just be proactive and make sure that like I'm being fair and like, we both have full-time jobs, but this is an extracurricular thing for me, real estate, and something that I'm looking to pivot into. So I want to make it as easy for him to accept as possible. And so I think communicating with your family, I have also an 11-year-old who, acts like an adult sometimes. He gets super offended if I'm, doing something that, he feels I shouldn't be doing, or if I should be, watching a movie with him, but instead I'm, trying to, answer emails or whatever. I make sure that I give them him a heads up as well. So I'll tell him like, hey, I first tell him I'm going to spend this time with you at this certain time, but then at this time I have to do this. So it's just really being like, just fair, and being in constant communication with your family so that they understand that you're doing this for them and you're also spending time with them, but you have responsibilities as well.
I'm next, I guess. So I think I echo both what Rachelle and Jonathan saying. I think I have an amazing partner. My husband has been tremendously supportive of what I do, but I tell you, it's not easy, right? Marriage is not easy. Kids are not easy. And then when you try to pivot and do something really, quote unquote, not the mainstream. It's for some reason in Silicon Valley, it's really easy for people to talk about stocks and bonds but then when they talk about real estate investment, the numbers here in Silicon Valley, the homes, when you invest here, it's like in the millions, just for a teardown, right? But so to get people, and including my husband, he's an intelligent guy. He knows, he's watched enough TV shows and he knows quite a bit about real estate because it's in his family's work too. So it's not like he's a newbie. He's definitely very, very well versed in real estate. But to do what I do is not something the norm, right? I buy a house, renovating it, buy a house that's not touchable, right? It's far away in a different state. And it's not in the best condition, then renovating it and then putting tenants in there and then making that into an income, a part of a larger portfolio, is not something that is easy concept. It is an easy concept if it was right here next door, touchable. But for some reason it, you know, and I can totally understand it. It's like far away, you know, you don't know the market, you're not there all the time, that type of thing. It's a little bit of more of a challenge. So getting that bigger leap of to pivot to do something that is so in the wheelhouse of what he and I both know, but that is so different, it's a little bit challenging. And so what I did was, at some point, there's in your life, you have a million reasons why you can't do it or shouldn't do it or challenging to do, and then maybe a handful of reasons why you should. And I think that I pivoted and kind of tuned off a little bit of the negative talk, because you can talk yourself out of doing something new all the time. It's really easy because those are weightier and heavier and more scary than it is to do something that you really want to do. Even if you've researched it for years, if you've studied the market, if you know your numbers inside and out. So at some point you just have to turn it off and kind of trust that you have a plan. And maybe the plan didn't go perfectly, because it didn't for me. My first couple of properties had problems. But at some point you have to learn just to trust yourself and your numbers, and just kind of turn it off and just go with what you know is a plan. So while I think it's really great to echo, and you know, Albert is an amazing partner, and I can't ask for a better partner. I think part of it, most of it, is really about me and whether or not I trust myself enough to do it and to get the guts to do it. And I think you guys, you men out there, you kind of know that, you know, this is something that I think women struggle in general, is that, at least for me, is that I can study and know, and kind of, it's harder for me to execute when it is about myself. It's easy for me to, like, you know, kind of look at the bigger picture for other people, but for me to execute on myself, I think I have a little bit of that trouble. And so for me, that was the biggest problem, and it was the biggest thing I had to overcome. Not anybody else. It wasn't the family. It wasn't the husband. It wasn't the support from the family, because I can't tell you how amazing my structure is, and very, very lucky to have that. The biggest problem was me. And so I turned that off about a year ago, and kind of just like, okay, I'm doing it. And so that's what I did. And I think I'm super happy with it. And I think everyone is super happy with it, including my husband, because I'm actually happier.
Great. All right, Daniel, you're next.
All right. And I also have a wonderful wife and 3 wonderful kids. My daughter's 11, my sons are 9 and 7. And it's definitely difficult to balancing, you know, working and real estate and family. And one thing that I know really helped us was that, you know, my wife and I we're different. We like different things. And one of the things that helped us is just making sure that we knew how we can make each other feel loved and appreciated, and being able to do that while also having busy lives. So for instance, you know, I kind of feel like if I can, you know, give of myself selflessly to my wife and make sure that she's happy and that I'm spending time with her, and she also will turn around and you know, show interest in what I'm doing. If we can fill each other's cups up and be really intentional about doing that as we're going through our busy lives, and I think a lot of intention is really key. So one of the things that I was able to do that got her excited about real estate, actually, was that she's very much a people person. And so part of multifamily investing is building teams. There's way too much work in a property for one person to do. So you have to go out there, you have to meet new people. Some people talk to brokers, and some people coordinate renovations, and some people, you know, talk to investors. And we just sat down and we started Zoom calling with people, and she really loved the experience of getting to know new people. And that was one way that I can kind of rope her in and show her what I was doing. And then, once work hours are done and I've spent some time on networking and real estate, also making sure it's been kind of a blessing, during a hard time to be at home. And, we all have lunch together right now since we're all at home. My kids are at home. I'm working at home. We're intentional about taking, some time and just all having lunch together every day. Making sure that at some point during the day we set aside all the work and we just pay attention to each other. My wife likes playing cards and board games, and so we do that a lot. Just making sure that we're intentional about each other and not going our separate ways in a busy life. And the same with my kids. Luckily enough, my kids are, my boys are young enough that just like running out in between meetings and tickling them is enough to fill their cups up. But my daughter, definitely, she's a quality time person. She wants you to stay there with her. And, we've done a couple of projects together and built a few things together. And so she really is enjoying that. And one thing that we're taking on next year, we're looking and planning and trying to figure out how to homeschool our 3 children. We've made the decision that we're going to homeschool our 3 children. And my wife is lucky enough that she's going to be the main person there doing that, but I'm going to be there supporting her, all the way. And hope, getting in on some of the teaching while mixing that in with my work at home. So it's going to be a very, very busy time. And the other thing too, and just from a practical standpoint, is that it's forced me to be pretty disciplined about my time. I sit down in the morning and plan my day out and hopefully my week out each Monday as well. So just having really good time management has really helped as well.
Awesome. Some of the things I want to throw in there, because I got to talk about taxes every now and then, is, when we think about our relationships with our spouses, a fantastic tax strategy that some of you are well aware of is the real estate professional tax status. And when we think about trying to find a way where we think about compromises in time, I know that the time commitment is challenging, but when we have that real estate professional tax status, and when I was thinking about what Cam was talking about going out on her own and thinking about how that impacts family picture, we can see with the real estate professional tax status combined with some other strategies such as cost segregation, where we accelerate the depreciation on these properties and we recognize the write-offs and depreciate those properties up front, creating massive write-offs when we purchase the properties. We will find that even if these properties are cash flow positive, the net result on the tax returns will result in tax refunds. So not only are we bringing in that passive income that we can grow and expand over time and create a nest egg to eventually retire and have more time for our families, that we can also create refunds that can be put back into whatever we want to do, whether that's our child's education or our own retirement or whatever we want to do. So that helps with the decision making as well. And also, Daniel, you talk about teaming up with your wife. If you only need one spouse to get that status, and it applies to both of you. So if you're investing, but you work full time, if your wife can become a real estate agent, she just needs 750 hours, and more than half the time is into working on that real estate trader business. We get that tax status, and we can use that for your investments. And you can also have business meetings with your spouse. So if we can find a way to do stuff that we love and go to our favorite restaurants and have a business meeting with our spouse, we can write off the travel and the meals, wherever those meals are going to be. Just some things to think about. Also, I see we now have 18 attendees, and I want to see some questions in the Q&A section, because we're going to dive deep and let's challenge our guests to some good questions about what they're doing. So I want to see some of those populate as we go through these questions. Next question is going to
I was going to say, I also like to hear where people are from. So if you want to put down in the chat box where you live and where you're coming from, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Next topic is how, and you can answer this in a number of ways, but when I said it, we did some preparation about how do we manage our budget and our finances. Obviously, if we could take if we are in the position to create overall tax refunds from our activity, that's fantastic. But let's talk about how we've thought about this in our personal finances and managing our budgets along with our real estate investments for us and our families. John, you want to go first?
Yeah. So, well, I got to give you a lot of credit. So when we met last year and you implemented some strategies for me, it led to a pretty sizable refund by implementing some cost segregation strategies. So when I was typically used to a standard accountant or CPA that just kind of pushed paper and did your general accounting structures or tax structures, my wife and I both working usually led to almost always owing money. In this case, we got a significant amount of money back, which is great, right? But you have to have a plan for it. And in our case, and I'll talk about the budgeting in a little bit, but it's a big win here because we literally just went under contract today for a 8-bedroom cabin in Gatlinburg that was officially accepted. So I think I want to say, yeah, it's pretty cool. We're gonna see. That market's very heated, but the revenue, especially now during COVID, I mean, people just want to travel. The mountains are perfect. So, but we decided to go all in on an 8-bedroom and bypass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So it's like, let's just try an 8-bedroom, see what happens, right? What's the worst that can happen, right? But it's expensive. So if we didn't, it's just an example that like that money has been reinvested. We also went under contract and finally got the approval this week for a local, almost like a mother-daughter's cottage combo, which is very unique. A lot of, with aging parents and stuff, it's an opportunity to, we're going to short-term rent it, but there's opportunity to have long-term plans as well. Should the short-term rental, vacation rental market kind of slow down like it did for a short period of time. But I'm bringing that up because by having very specific strategic tax goals, which is very boring for a lot of us. Are we getting money or do we have to pay, right? But you love it. But by talking to you about that, it allowed us to get money that would have been allocated to either the government or just maybe we even break even. And I wouldn't have been able to reinvest that money the very next year into these deals. And so I have a goal in mind. I'm trying to expedite the pivoting that everybody here is talking about. They're working very hard. They're asking sacrifice, a lot from their family to sacrifice. But if this can expedite by having a very clear strategic tax strategy that gets money back, that I can, instead of doing 1 deal a year, 2 deals a year, again, this is all personal. So I need as much capital as I can get until maybe I pivot into multifamily, syndicating, raising other people's money. But for me, this niche, if done properly and quick enough, can expedite my pivot of generating my feet right out the door of the company I work for faster. And it's really important that we work with someone like yourself and not think that strategy doesn't work. I'll end on just the budget piece, which is for me, it's very easy. My wife and I have very specific consumerism ideals, right? We don't spend a lot of money on things. So if I say, hey, I'd like to take $50,000 or $100,000 and Cam, to your point, right? Invest in something out of state. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't see it. Even if you say like, but it'll return $2,000 a month, it gets very boring versus, hey, I wanted that new Ford Explorer or just something, right? And like, so if you have to compete with your partner from a budget standpoint that isn't aligned, and you have to kind of, there's a little bit of give and take, which again, wife is very supportive and we're on the same wavelength. That can be a significant challenge in your budget to say, I need X amount of dollars to go invest in something, especially if you're not into it, that once I tell you that the positive outcome of it, you get bored pretty quickly if you're not into it versus, hey, I can have immediate gratification by spending that money elsewhere or even investing in something else. So the budgeting for us is simple, but it's a significant challenge for others because you're asking someone else who worked very hard in most cases to contribute that pile of cash or capital to move it into another vehicle versus maybe something else they want to do with it. So I'll leave it there.
I just want to chime in for 1 second and talk about a wonderful opportunity that we were able to take advantage of. So John did not have the real estate professional tax status for him or his wife. But one thing that we could do is with short-term rentals. And that's why short-term rentals can be one of the most effective and fastest ways to get out of the rat race and really start off in real estate. Not only do we have a great cash on cash return, but under certain circumstances, if you analyze it properly and you understand the tax code and you plan effectively, we can treat that investment activity as active. And when we treat it as active and we have enough of an investment, we can can take advantage of the things that we talked about. I was just talking about earlier with cost segregation and bonus depreciation, create those losses that are active losses and deduct them against other sources of active income, which would, in this case, would be your W-2 income. Mm-hmm. And that's why you want to plan in advance. You don't want to create a management entity for your short-term rentals unless you know you were going to have that positive. We can't, create positive losses, but there are fantastic opportunities with short-term rentals under certain circumstances that we were able to capitalize on. It really helped out with growing this portfolio as quickly as possible. So yeah, Rachelle.
So I've implemented a method called Stop, Start, and Continue. And if you listen to Rob Dial, who is the mindset mentor, he has a great podcast, just really amazing. So if you don't listen to him, you should definitely get on that. But Stop, Start, and Continue is, basically looking at whatever aspect of your life and saying, what do I need to start doing? What have I not been doing over the past 6 months that I need to start doing to get to my goal? What have I been doing over the last 6 months that I need to stop doing to get to my goal? What do I need to continue doing to get to my goal, right? So if you use this method, it's really great because, especially for the finance side, I like to shop. I like to do, I like to go out and, to eat restaurants, to go have drinks. Like there's a lot of things I like to do. But is that getting me closer to my goal? So it's just really about kind of just checks and balances and just making sure that, you're continuing to move forward. Not that you can't have fun, not that you can't go shopping and do those things, but, just really kind of just checking yourself because, we've been through a lot with this pandemic and there's a lot of like emotions and, sometimes emotional things can kind of lead to like, emotional shopping, emotional eating and emotional buying things and just kind of like, getting you off track. So, so a great app to just budget, that's free is mint.com. I use that. I've really kind of started to become a little stricter with myself and just really going through my bank statements and looking to see, what am I spending money on and just, is this contributing? Is what I'm spending money on getting me further, closer to my goal or further away from my goal? So, so that's just simple questions and just kind of some checks and balances. But, Stop, Start, and Continue is like one of my favorite things to consider when it comes to budget.
Fantastic.
So my husband and I, we have, we use Wealthfront, so we don't use mint.com, but I think a lot of these online systems now have a way for you to put in your information so that both partners can see the information, which I think is very, very helpful because it helps to alleviate the stress. I think the other thing too is just being able, I have a Google Doc that my husband and I share. And being able to share that and showing him exactly what I'm doing. He might not know all the numbers and what it means to me, but I put a lot of what I'm doing in terms of our portfolio on there. I update it regularly, like, the month end when we see what the numbers look like after rent collection and stuff like that, then I put it on there and it shows him to see, it gives him visibility into what I'm doing, which I think is very, very helpful because I definitely see, I have visibility into what he's doing because he brings home a paycheck, right? So I think that's really, really helpful. The other thing that going back to what Mark was saying, the reason while I started in real estate 17 years ago was because of the professional real estate status, right? that was, I was looking for something to do because I was going to be a mom and a full-time mom, which was something that I wasn't looking to plan out my life doing. Luckily I got addicted and am now really addicted. But it was something that got started, and it helped us with our tax planning and our tax strategies. But have to admit, we kind of ramped it up in the last 2 years by doing a lot more investments in terms of the tax laws, and using the current tax law that is forwarded to real estate investors, and using that to help us speed it up a little bit in terms of what we're doing. So I just kind of am pretty lucky to have found that path. But I think the other advice I would say, to piggyback on what Mark was saying, and Rachelle too, is I think it is worth it. It is worth it to get a really good tax strategist and planner. We've had CPAs over the last number of years, and Jonathan talks about this, where they do the taxes for you. But oftentimes by the end, it's too late. By the time you do the taxes the year after, it's too late. And so I think the biggest aha for me in terms of being able to maximize and actually utilizing or accelerating what we were doing, one of the best things is actually to find someone like Mark who knows about how to put in place plans, so that you're at the end of the year, how your tax outcome will be, and how you are maximizing it. I think that's something, if I had to do it all over again, I would pay the money to get that advice earlier on, because you get the money back. So I completely agree.
Hey, Mark, I know it's Daniel. Sorry, I just want to jump in real quick on that point. This was sorry, Daniel. This was the pivotal moment for me. I think it was about 2 years ago. And, this is, I don't know if I'd call him a controversial figure, but he's a ostentatious personality. Grant Cardone, great marketer and all that stuff. But I remember he did a video a couple years ago, and in my mind, this is what I was always thinking anybody you hire should be doing. But in this case, it happened to be about a strategist. He said it was November, Thanksgiving, December, and my CPA or my tax strategist called me, and he said, "We have a problem. I need you to spend $50 million." Right? Again, these are big numbers, so I understand, but he's like, "Okay, why?" And he went through "Hey, if you don't invest that or buy something or whatever, we're going to be hit." And so he bought a plane, and that was for him, it was a personal goal. He always wanted to have a G20, 50, whatever they call them, Gulfstream. But I thought to myself, to your point, Cam, you came to me before the year was over, and you were analyzing shit the whole year. And at the end of the year, you said, "We have a problem. I need you to do this. And if you didn't do that, you're going to get hit with something problematic." And when I would go to my CPAs in February or March, they'd be like, "So what do you got for me? What do you need me to do?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" It was like, I need someone else. And this is how I take that approach to legal advice, agents, real estate agents, anybody. If you're not proactively coming to me with something, then you're probably not earning anything. And I don't mean that to be mean, but that was my pivotal moment when I heard that story. Even at a high scale of a plane, it makes sense. It could be $100, doesn't matter. So anyway, I love that point, Cam. Sorry, Daniel.
No, that was a great way of underscoring the point, because I was going to say, you have a better story than I do, but I was going to say the same thing. Building a team of people that know their job better than, that particular job, because CPA is going to know how to work accounting numbers better than you do. Tax accountant is going to do taxes better than you do. Your lawyer is going to do it better than you do. So having all of those people, the property managers, if you're renting out rental homes or short-term Airbnbs, all of those people are people you need to have on your team. And real estate is a team sport. So I like Christine's question over here. She says that RE investors are the most ambitious and hardworking people that I know. How do you draw the line to balance getting more deals and passive income with your family? How do you know when to stop? Does it ever get too stressful? So, that's actually a pretty big problem for me. Both my wife and we're both kind of workaholics, and it makes it hard for us sometimes to stop. And the other thing is too, I didn't realize, this was like 4 years ago, I didn't realize that I was getting really stressed out. And I noticed that I don't notice that about myself until I get to the point where I'm just about ready to crash. So I like this particular year, I went like until August or September and never took a single day like break. And I didn't even hardly realize that that had happened. And I just got to a point where my work productivity just fell off a cliff. And that's when I realized that, taking breaks, taking vacations, we all got to do that just to keep work-life balance, to keep ourselves emotionally healthy, to keep stress down. Taking care of yourself is really important, and you've got to be intentional about it. So in terms of getting more deals, one of the things that I do is I partner with people. So I've got a full-time job. So my partners do the work that has to be done during the day. And I do a lot of things that, can be done later, such as, writing investor newsletters or emailing or talking on Facebook, things I can do after hours. So in my particular case, I partner with people. And Mark, we actually this year decided not to pursue the 750 hours that we need in order to get the investor dealer status. And that was simply because my kids came home from school and we suddenly had to educate them. And that was definitely hard. We looked at it and we went, I don't think we're going to make it this year. And probably not next year either. So there's definitely times where, you have to look at the work-life balance and say, this is something that would be great to do, but family is more important. Mm-hmm. And so, you gotta keep that in mind. And we would have got a lot of tax write-offs doing that. It would have been very nice, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, and just to add on that, so the real estate professional tax says you need at least 750 hours, which is about 15 hours a week. But in addition, you also have to be putting more than 50% of your working hours into that real estate trader business. So if you also have a W-2 income, it's going to be really hard. I've tried to do it with some of my clients.
How do you track that, Mark?
Okay, I tried it once, and John, we can talk. John's one of my clients, and John had a nice paternal leave. And I was thinking to myself, oh, this is great. We got 3 months and we were going to work nights and weekends, a 4 months paternal leave. So I was like, we might be able to swing it. We document all our hours at your day job and your real estate investments. We might be able to push it into that over 50%. And then we shift all our expenses into that year. That's the year that you buy the Dodge Ram and everything else. So I always think about these things. And, I knew about this because this comes back to the point of thinking ahead of time, right? I knew when John's baby was due and I had Operation Baby Tax Plan. And we were going to try to utilize that paternal leave to get him that real estate tax status. It's been very challenging, but the point that I want to touch on is that you want a CPA who is on top of things, who stays in touch with you, as opposed to a lot of traditional accountants who are the bearer of bad news and tell you what you owe. Hopefully that amount is even accurate at the end, on April 14th. So great stuff. Let's talk about the next topic is we talked about this a little bit, and I want to give a shout out. Some of you guys have met your spouses. I want to give a shout out to some of the spouses in the audience right now, who's some wonderful people that I've met. And I want to talk, let's talk about this question of how you coordinate and communicate with your spouse to make all of this happen. John, let's hear from you first.
Sorry, I was on a meeting. So my wife, Kim, needs to see, we argue about this all the time, but she's right. So my wife wants to see a plan about what what I'm trying to accomplish, whether it's like early 2 weeks ago, I decided to just try to be a lender and be a bank for just to try it out, right? Lend to a partner. Daniel, you talked about partnering with people. I thought, okay, this person, I trust everything about them as a human. So let me try the passive route. Like Rachelle, you mentioned earlier, right? We got to think a little bit more about Rachelle, passive investing. Running an Airbnb business is not super passive, but so I said, let me lend to, let me try lending while I'm building out my niche of short-term rentals. And so every time I want to try to do something different with a different vehicle, I approach my wife, and naturally it's like, okay, well, this is new. So what do you want to do this time? And she needs to understand with a plan, a visual plan, the goal and the actual steps that showcase that you put some thought behind it. And then it helps, not that she doesn't trust me, but I need to understand it. And when you talk to me, you're a talker, I don't understand, right? So I need to just see something simple or put a plan together. And so I always react like, oh, it's just more work. Like I already have enough work to do, and now you want me to put together a plan, right? So, but the bottom line is, when I do that and I sit down and I write it down and I convince myself with an actual plan, it helps her get on board with what we're trying to accomplish. So I think that you need to be very intentional with what you're doing. Writing goals down and trying to essentially document what you're trying to do helps you anyway, even if you're like me and you don't like doing that. You're doing yourself a disservice. But I think for her and her needs, it actually brings the best out of me understanding what I'm trying to accomplish, and it helps her feel much more comfortable. So that's really helped our communication.
Great. Rachelle,
Yes. Yeah. So, we try to be, as much, like I said earlier, we try to communicate as much as possible. We started doing something at the beginning of the year, which we really found, very beneficial for us as a family, as we started having Sunday evening meetings. So, we just take some time and we sit down together and we just talk about our goals and what are we going to do this week to get closer to, our overall goal. And, we both, at the end of the day, even though we may not be on the same page with the same vehicles of, how we get there, in terms of real estate investing, he's a lot more passive in real estate than, the idea of it, he's a lot more passive than I am, but we still have the same end goal in mind. And so, for us, that is to be, retired and, living our life, the way that we want, having time freedom. And so we're not looking to become more active in things. We're looking for ways to become more passive, to get to those goals. So just really coming together and reiterating, what we have to do, helping each other. And just, when there are things like, networking events that I have to go to, just being, giving him a heads up on that, and just, making sure that he didn't have something planned or he's not going to be late from work. So just really just communicating and, to try to make sure that, we're on the same page.
Right. Big theme is just keeping things open and communicating. And I love the idea of the meetings.
You would be surprised if just misunderstandings, how that can really just set your week back. Right. And just, when things are not right with your spouse, I don't know about the rest of you, but it sets the tenor of the whole week, or the whole weekend. And so just doing those little things, the things that are easy to do, they're also easy not to do. And so you just have to be very conscious. And Daniel said, about being intentional about the things that you do.
Wonderful.
I think the other thing that works for me and Albert is that I give him enough time, right? So that it's not a new thing. He has time to digest, also to look up the data himself, not just what I present to him, but he's super duper analytical to begin with, a scientist at heart. And so he likes numbers and he likes to see things, and he wants to be able to read the articles himself, do his own research and whatnot. And so for me, whenever I venture into doing something new, like a new market or a new type of asset, he definitely wants to have the time, and you have to give him or your partner the time to catch up with you, right? So I think that's been really helpful. But along with all the other stuff that everyone is talking about, I think that's the other thing that you can do is just put it out there, do the research, show your business plan, but also give them time to digest and like not have a knee-jerk reaction and, hey, we have to do this today. That doesn't work too well.
Yeah. So it sounds like some of you guys may have had to learn that through trial and error. And I'm taking notes in case I ever settle down. I'm going to give you guys all a call if that happens. Another idea, you also, communication with your CPA is important. And another idea, when we think about we have these active sources of income, like Airbnb rentals, or let's say you're doing property management and you're trying to delegate time. From a tax perspective, it helps out as well, because we perhaps if we can create systems and more systems where we are providing services and we can facilitate those services to other people, we have the potential to turn more sources of active income into passive income. Not only does that help us out with scaling and growing with these efficient systems, but now we can create, when we classify it as passive income, the IRS will not hit us with that payroll tax, which can be pretty brutal as well. Daniel, let's hear from you.
So the tip that I was going to give is that we actually take one day a week and totally disconnect. And that has been really helpful for us, making sure that we're on the same page. So we take one day on the weekend usually, and it's just family time. We don't do our regular work. We don't analyze deals. We often don't use computerized devices. We just hang out with each other, and that way we connect with each other so that when the week comes back around, we can hit the ground running, and we're all still strong and relaxed. And so that's really helped me. So take a Sabbath day.
That's so much more easy said than done.
I know. I'm still on my phone. I try.
It's so hard, especially for those of you who have tech families like we are. It's really, really hard. But it's something that I think everybody is trying really hard to do, right? And now, luckily, we can. So.
Wonderful. So next topic is I know that we all have obligations outside of our real estate investments. So not only do we have to thrive and succeed in our investments, but a lot of us have things that we do during the day, right? And that can be really challenging when we have these dreams and ambitions. And then we have our family life. So when we think about our time here, so we got our day jobs, we have our families, and we have our investing, and we've kind of touched upon this, but I would love to hear your thoughts on, some of the strategies we've found to manage our time as effectively as possible to make everything work. Let's start with you, Dan.
Yeah. So I almost feel like I'm in the twilight zone trying to accomplish this, and it's just because we have such young children. So Rachelle talked about a strategy that we tried to implement, and it actually went really well earlier, about having business meetings. And so before our second daughter was born earlier this year in February, middle of last year, I think our daughter was 2.5, and she was sleeping pretty well. And so my wife and I would get up at like around 5:30, and we'd have business meetings in my office, and it would go really well. We would bookmark out on my whiteboard exactly what we wanted to talk about for the business and make decisions. And it was great because we get up, but we were sleeping, right? My daughter was sleeping. So, and that's why I talk about the twilight zone, is because shortly after we were getting so much done, and then I could, once Kim and I would make decisions, she'd go downstairs, she'd do her thing and prep for her day. But then shortly after, my my daughter would regress. It regressed out of nowhere. And so we'd either get up in the middle of the night or she'd come into bed or whatever. And so that stopped. And then all of a sudden February came around this year, and then we had a newborn. And so we literally couldn't get back. It was so, but we were so productive. So I want to make sure I'm hammering the point of, I think early morning meetings with dedicated time to prep for the day, as well as accomplish and make decisions, even if it's 2 a day, it is so valuable. It was valuable. And I think I actually experienced how valuable it is more than everybody who consistently was able to do it, because it was ripped away like very quickly. And I haven't been able to get back to that with Kim because of the newborn. And we're waiting for when normalcy comes again and we can implement that again, because we were making decisions and we were getting things done. Then maybe I could get in the shower, we could get stuff done, stay with her. And it was 7 o'clock, and then our daughter would get up. It was awesome. And I think, Rachelle, you already touched on that. It sounds like, what do you mean a business meeting as a family? That would be the one thing, if I could have back and continue to implement and only have one thing, it would be that, because you'd be wildly successful just on that alone. And the whole point was, your question was around balancing work, right? This is before everything, before the kids, before getting ready, before taking a shower, before eating, before work. That could set you up for success alone if you just implemented early morning meetings with your spouse.
John, I do want to just tell you that, I have a 2-year-old, I have an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I can totally relate to where you're at right now. And for about 1.5 years, my daughter did not sleep through the night, and it was horrendous. I mean, I struggled with that so bad because, having an 11-year-old, you kind of forget, because I was definitely not into real estate or all the things that I, do now, when my son was, an infant. And so it was just like literally getting kicked in the stomach. I mean, it was just like, all the things that I had going on, I couldn't do it because I couldn't function. I could barely do my day job and get through my day job with, with the little sleep that I've gotten. My husband was exhausted. We were fighting. I mean, I'm just being real. It was a tough time to get through. And so give yourself the grace, when you're raising a family, when you have little children, that basically just surviving. And so I think that being on these webinars, networking and doing the little things that you can, in like that you're doing right now, it's great. So commend yourself. I commend you for doing that. It is tough. And so, try to just look at it that this too shall pass, because, she's 2 now, and it is becoming a little bit easier, and it definitely does get a lot easier the older they get. It's just, you don't have them screaming in the background, or, you're sleeping better, and, you can actually, complete a full sentence. So, just, this is a tough stage that you're going through, and, a lot of us probably on this webinar can relate to that. Another thing I want to, talk about in the, just with this topic, I think it's important. Like, I believe in having your cake and eating it too, but I only focus on the things that are important to me. So if there's something that I don't enjoy doing, or that I don't like, or that I don't really see it contributing to my future goals, I don't do it. So, I try not to get distracted and sidetracked with, tons of things that, may or may not work out. So I stick to the things that are important. My day job is certainly, my priority. So I give my all to that. That's what pays the bills. That's what, funds my investments and, all that. So that is, number one priority at the moment. And then, my day kind of looks, just to give you kind of a snapshot of what my day looks like. I get up, about 5:30 in the morning. I do my morning routine, have a little exercise, drink some coffee, just have some quiet time. Just, before the kids wake up. The kids wake up around 7. And then, we're getting ready for the day, getting breakfast, getting them out the door. My daughter goes to daycare. And then I'm actually working from home. So, with this pandemic, and probably will be for, the next year. So, drop her at daycare, then come home, take care of my work. And, the evening time is spent, networking, sending out emails. And I try to, save a little time for, getting the kids, ready for bed, and, reading them books or playing with them. So I do keep a schedule. You know, I always try to cook dinner. That's one of the things I feel like I can give to my family is, you know, nutritious meals. So like these are very specific things that I do on a daily basis to just show love to my family and show that I'm still engaged, you know, and I'm putting them first. And then usually business things, you know, come later after the kids are gone to bed. And then weekend, Saturday is an errands and work day for me, for all of my business, you know, endeavors. I do podcasting as well. So I'll record a bunch of podcasts. I'll do 30-minute interviews and kind of have like a bunch of them so that I can release one on a weekly basis. And then Sunday, like Daniel said, Sunday is our day to just kind of relax. We usually go somewhere as a family, or we stay at home, or we just, you know, we kind of just unplug from the world. And that's just a day that we don't do any work. We are church going people. So we usually will either attend services. Right now we're doing Zoom services, but you know, we're, you know, people of faith. And so we believe that's important. So that's pretty much what our week looks like. And, you know, if there's anything in between, you know, my husband and I usually coordinate with each other and you know, try to help each other.
Great. So Daniel, it sounds like you got to head out pretty soon.
Here's an example of work-life balance. I need to go downstairs and have dinner with the family. So I want to thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to come and talk to you. And it's great to meet everybody on this call. This is the first time I've met all of you. Again, my name is Daniel Holmlund. I invest in multifamily properties with investors. We split the cash flow and equity. And my website is aloncapital.com. My podcast is the Win Multifamily Show. And you can find us at winmultifamily.com. All of it's down in the chat box. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Cam.
I think everyone is pretty knowledgeable in this field. If you have it's an ongoing struggle. I think whatever you put in place is always going to be an ongoing struggle. Our kids are older; they're in junior high and high school now, and especially with the twins when they were younger, when they were newborns as 2-year-olds, those years are a blur to me. Even though I knew I worked at the time, as well as having kids, because I was running my own real estate and property management company. So I'm those years are a little much of a blur. The struggle that I'm dealing with now is more or less time management. And I think I want to be a part of my kids' life. So pretty involved with their schools. I want to be involved in my community. So I sit on a couple of nonprofit projects and boards. And I definitely want to be a part of my family unit. So we do stuff for families outside of our little unit too, because we want to be connected to the rest of the families. And so now with COVID, we have more time, but it also requires us to be more proactive in a lot of the things that we do. So, you know, Zoom calls with family members that didn't exist before now has to take priority and stuff. So, you know, learning how to say no is something I'm working on, because I always want to be helpful. And learning to prioritize is an ongoing struggle, I think, for if you're a parent, you kind of know that. So not quite sure. Planners, I'm working on that. I mean, it's an ongoing process for me. I'm not quite sure that I'm the best poster child for success, but I think, you know, planning, getting things on the calendar, making sure that you know what your goal is and your priorities are helps to focus. But I would be lying to say if I thought I was successful at it. It's an ongoing thing for me.
Yeah, it sounds like a challenge. I know it's getting late in the evening for some of you, or some of you might be, Cam, you might be getting ready for dinner time. So we're gonna do some rapid fire questions from the audience. If we can ask them real quick, and we'll get through some of these, and then we'll do the call to action. Does anybody here recommend any any time management ideas, strategies, and tools. We talked about some of them. One of my favorites is just using your calendar and scheduling things in. And I'm in a mentor program for practice owners, and we deliberately delegate time for throughout the week. Everything is planned, so we don't have to think about it as much. I also love the Calendly app. It takes away so much of this back and forth when you want to meet with people. Does anyone else have any other time saving and management tools that we haven't mentioned?
I do. I have, what's been really helpful for me is using the Google suite of products. Since I live inside my mailbox, which is a Google email, the Google Keeps is where I keep all of the Zoom call, LinkedIn, the link to all the Zoom calls that are happening on a regular basis, team meetings, all of that. So I'm not running around looking for that data. That was a simple one that someone told me. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Now I'm not running around and like, so all the Airbnb links that we happen to have, you know, I've been a 7-year host of Airbnb, both in the property management company that I ran, and also now we have Airbnb in our portfolio. And so to be able to have that link always available so that I could just cut and paste is really great. And the other thing too is I try to use text more. And if you're not using WhatsApp or one of those applications to connect with the people that you need to connect with on a regular basis, it's much easier to use WhatsApp and going back and tracking photos and emails and stuff like that than it is to and links and documents than it is to use the regular text on your phone. So I think if you look into some of those time-saving strategies, I think it's very helpful. I would highly recommend WhatsApp. It's much more secure too.
Wonderful. Anybody else want to chime in on this topic?
I see Samarie asks a question. Does everyone have a budget and share accounts with spouse? So that's actually, I was wondering if I should share mine because it's not as conventional as what a lot of husbands and wives do. We have a different arrangement. So my husband and I, we both have separate accounts, our own checking accounts. And so we did that. We've been together for 10 years, but married for 3, together, living together for 4. And so we've never merged bank accounts. So what we do, our arrangement, and it works for us, is we split the bills down the middle. So we say, you take this, you take that, and we just basically, you know, divide and conquer. And so, you know, when it comes to mortgage or, you know, whatever, I just send him, you know, he usually pays that. So I just send him my portion. And that's the way we work. We just split everything. And you know, our accounts are separate, our savings account are separate. And so and when it comes to like any properties or anything, that we just contribute 50-50, we split everything 50-50. And that's what works for us. I mean, there's a lot of people who do things together. There's a lot of people who have accounts that are separate and have a savings account together. So it's really just what works for you and your family.
Awesome.
Yeah, I concur with that. We, same thing. We have everything separate with the exception of a couple of joint accounts, but we talk about our monetary situation probably 37 times a day based on like what we did today. Literally, it could be today, right? We could have sold something and made a $50 profit on eBay, and we're like, good, that is just a hair towards this goal. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
we're spot on with what we do, but we do keep everything separate. I don't know. It was so easy for us. But I want to respect that question to how hard it can be for some people because it's important. I wish I had a better answer that maybe I struggle with it with my spouse or something. That's a very tough question for some people to implement the right way because either sometimes it's not secretive in a bad way. It's just, it's tough
Privacy.
to give that information over. All right, go ahead, Rachelle. What were we going to say?
No, I feel like it's about privacy too. And it's not about being secret. It's about allowing someone to have their privacy. You know, and I'm very transparent with my husband. My husband's very transparent with me. So there's never been a reason for me to doubt him or for him to doubt me. So I feel like it just really works for us, and maybe
Yeah.
if it wasn't, we didn't have that kind of a relationship, then there might be, maybe there would be some doubts.
Yeah, and I have some colleagues, friends that they have a great relationship with everything but the money, and it's not even, it's the one of the hardest things for certain people is like, if I have this spending habit, and I don't even mean like it's terrible, but if it's a habit that I just don't want to give up, but if I communicate it to you and it doesn't fit in with what we agreed upon, they find ways to keep it sort of hidden and unexplainable. And that's why that question is so valuable, to get on the same page with your spouse first. I wish I knew how to do it in a challenging situation, but I never had that problem. But that is such a respectable question, because it can be very hard if you have that problem.
Yeah. So I think for us, we work the opposite way in our family. I mean, we have like every account together as joint, with the exception of my investment portfolio. And that is just to save Albert the headache, of understanding, okay, yes, it's going to freak you out that I just paid $15,000 on that foundation work, but it was a part of a bigger strategy. And for him to see something like that on a regular basis or not a regular basis, it's just, now we have to go through the back channel and try to understand and work out the details of that particular transaction, because it's a large one. It makes him uncomfortable, right? So now I have to and he doesn't necessarily have to go down to that need level. So I think for me, that was more of a protection of his time. He has absolute visibility in what I'm doing if he wants, but just to protect his time and his mental space. He doesn't need to be in the weeds with every single transaction that goes on. And as you're building out your portfolio, these items do come in much more frequent. If you're doing your job as an asset manager, you're going to have to, he doesn't need to know that we negotiated a different nightly rent for someone on the STR that we have here or that or there, what kind of refrigerator we're buying for X or Y, Z or whatever, So I think for us, the reason why I'm doing the accounting for the investment portion of our income portfolio is really to protect his time. So, but otherwise, everything we do is very transparent. So.
Awesome. So on the topic of protecting people's time, one of the questions we have from Brian S. is, what is the best source of deals? And we can have a 5-hour-long discussion on where to find deals, but maybe in 3 seconds or less, can you guys each give us maybe just a quick tidbit of where you're finding your deals, just so we can jump in real quickly into that without going down the many rabbit holes we can on that topic.
Yeah, I'll throw in real quick. So just join a local, well-respected real estate group in your area and find the top 5 people that either comment the most, have positive interactions the most. And they tend to be the most trustworthy to at least run by your plans and goals. Most of them will help you out to, at least if they're not going to be a partner or point you in the right direction, they'll give you somebody who can. Local real estate, a well-respected local real estate group, you'll find deals there, or find someone who can help you find deals.
Yeah, so without knowing what kind of deals you're looking for, I would have to go with, my short answer would be getting yourself a good real estate realtor. You will spend a lot of time and effort and money looking for deals on your own. And if you have that kind of time, all the more power to you. But my suggestion is to definitely link up with a realtor that is specific to that area that you're looking to invest. If you're looking in Florida, don't find a realtor in Tampa when you're looking in Orlando. You want to find someone that knows the streets really well, has good deal flow, and just link up with them. Another thing is to be very, very specific with your criteria. So if you say, just send me anything, you will literally get anything. But if you say, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2,100 square feet, turnkey, be as specific as possible. And then you're going to get the specific deals and really great deals coming into your inbox, and not, as Mark said, protecting your time, and not having to sort through, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I also want to give us acknowledge the wonderful community that Rachelle has created. She created this Westchester Real Estate Investor Meetup group. It has like a couple hundred. How many members do you have in the group now?
In the group, I think there's close to in the Facebook group 400, but in our meetup group, there's about 1,500. Yeah,
and she's been an incredible resource, and she's also been a facilitator of connecting so many wonderful people. So if you don't have that community in where you ever live, you can take that initiative and really be a facilitator, and that opens up a lot of doors too, as Rachelle has done. And it's just been wonderful what she's been able to do as far as connecting with great people and also helping other people out. Cam.
Yes, I real quickly, I am a realtor, and so I think that using a realtor and a broker or a broker in the area that you're looking for is very, very key. Even though I can do the deals on my own, every single one of my deals, when it's remote, has been through a realtor. I believe in having one throat to choke. So like someone who helps you with the deal and got paid for it has a little bit more skin in the game to help you when there's issues that come up, and there will be issues. And I have to admit, I tried it a couple times on my own, and I've been really burned because you really don't know until the issues come up, right? And so that commission that you pay for the realtor or the broker is going to pay dividends when you actually have issues. And I think that in the same way that you would have to have a good lawyer, all of that, I think a really good real estate professional, whether it's a broker or a realtor in the area that you're looking at, is really key. The other thing too is I would also caution, I mean, I belong to quite a few online groups and stuff like that, and have to say, be very, very careful on who you do business with, like in person, on the internet, in groups. Just do your due diligence, because this, real estate is real numbers.
Yeah, and if you focus on building a relationship with someone rather than the transaction, you're less likely to get burned. So that's one of the things I've, just a little side tip on that. Relationships over transactions always, and then you're going to mitigate your risk.
Exactly.
Great ideas. Rachelle, I know that you've been saying, you had a really great idea that you told me a few weeks ago. I was hoping you could tell it. Before we get to our call of actions, I know you said that you wanted your son, you were going to do something with your son, getting him in the game. Can you tell us a little more about the details of that?
Yeah, so my son is 11, and I have been, putting aside some money for him to do his first flip when he is 16. So, since he was 5 years old, he wanted to be a police officer, then he wanted to be a doctor, then he wanted to be a veterinarian, then he wanted to be a biologist, all kinds of stuff. And I said to him, you can be anything you want in the world, but the first thing you're going to be is you're going to be a real estate investor, because that will give you the freedom to do anything that you want to do in life. And you can change, as you grow and whatnot, but being a real estate investor. And so the plan is for him to do his first flip, and I will help him and mentor him through that. And then, to be able to use that capital on his flip to be able to, start to build a passive portfolio and throughout college, so that he can fund, basically his life.
Wonderful. And Kim, you had a really great idea as well about purchasing rental properties as a way to build some equity that can be used for college. And I think that maybe John, you might with your newborn, You might be able to use one as well. Can you fill us in what you were talking to me about?
It's a strategy I wish I had implemented when our kids were born. Instead of investing in 529 plans, which we do, and you know, hoping that it would cover all of the college tuition. One of the things that, but in a 529, you can't really leverage, right? It's the money is investing in whatever that money grows. But in real estate, you can leverage and actually safely leverage. And so all the young parents out there, Jonathan and Rachelle, you guys, your kids are young enough to actually do this. You know, we know the real estate doubles every 7 to 10 years in a normal market. And if you pick your right market, it should you should look for, I'm investing in income property, so we want to make sure that there's steady income, but I'm trying to pick markets that also is on the way up and appreciating. So again, if you pick the right market, the right location, you should see a combination of both. Even though I'm focused on staying on more on the income piece, I'm also after the equity too. So if you actually buy a property, say $100,000, you actually really are just investing $20,000 and you're leveraging, and then you let it grow until they get to college, which should be 18 years or something like that, and you sell it, and then that's the money that you use to pay for their college. And I think that had I really thought about it and really could have executed on that a lot faster for college. And so now that I'm having kids that are reaching the college age, and that's coming up really quickly for us, boy, I kind of, do the 529 plans, but really we should have just put out the extra effort and done a couple more income properties with the goal of earmarking that for their college funding.
Here's also some really cool ideas that you can do. And this just became available in the CARES Act. And I'm going to recommend it to some of you guys because you guys are all my clients. We'll work on this. So as of March 2020, an employer can reimburse an employee for their student loans. So you get the students to take out the loans, your children, and that deduction is a write-off for the employer and is non-taxable to the person receiving that reimbursement up to $5,250 per year. So that can be something along the lines of, let's just say you're at a 30% state and federal tax rate. That could be $1,500 a year that you save in taxes. Another idea is the American Opportunity Tax Credit that's a $2,500 tax credit that gets put back. It's $1. It's not a deduction. It's a tax credit of money back in your pocket if you spend that money on qualified educational expenses. Now, if your AGI is over $180,000, so if you are the parent purchasing, spending these qualified educational expenses for your child, you will not qualify. So you have the child use these educational expenses, and that child applies for the educational tax credit. That's another $2,500 per year back into the family pot. So these are all great ideas. I really appreciate everybody's time. The last thing before we go is the call of action that I would love to hear from everybody. So we'll go in the same order, and then before I close out with my call of action, I'd love to hear just a call of action of what you would love to get from the host and what you can provide and where to find you and all that great stuff. And if anybody wants contact information, you could find me anywhere. And I will respond quickly with anyone's contact info. And you can also type your best resource or email into the chat as well. So let's start with you, John.
Sorry. What's the request here?
Call
to make
action.
sure I'm clear on.
Sorry.
Call to action.
Yes.
So what I'm offering or what I want the guests to do? Sorry, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, just anything.
What
you would like to offer or provide or receive from the guests.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Where to follow you and all that wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think anybody who goes to either revisits this or was part of this, because I know, our participant list has dropped here in the last little bit, but I'm a huge fan of short-term rentals. I'm real estate investing, but honestly, the power right now with this massively growing industry is that I feel like if anybody can afford to just get their hands on just one moderately successful short-term rental and manage it, it's so easy, and put $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 in your month, back in your pocket a month. I know that amount of money for your average family, your average junior investor would be gigantic. So I challenge people to at least investigate that. And obviously, you're talking about multifamily or a big long-term rental portfolio. I get all that. Absolutely. I did the power to immediately start running a small business, but get like major cash flow versus like the average single family home just to get your feet wet and realize I'm only walking away with 150, 200, whatever. Your moderately successful short-term rental is a little bit more work, but the cash flow multiplier to just get you to see the power of real estate is incredible. And forget even your tax strategies that we talked about earlier. It's like the one home project that I want to start pushing on people that are interested in real estate. If they reach out to me, I'd be glad to help you find a small, moderate single family home that you can turn into a short-term rental in many, many markets that you wouldn't even think would be successful. It doesn't have to be the beach or the mountains. It could be even just a regular growing market. You'd be surprised how well it would do. But I will put my company, my management company in here in case anybody wants further questions or consulting.
And if once you get that first rental property, now you're a business owner, now we can create a ton of write-offs. That's all I'm going to say. Rachelle.
So first, I just want to say thank you, Mark, for having me on. Thank you for organizing this. This has been really great. I had, some great takeaways. And so if you're listening in and you have not connected with Mark as a tax strategist, you need to do that right after we get off this call. He is amazing. He works with me on stuff, and just having him to be able to call, text, send an email on any questions that I have, or just keeping him updated of my life, so that he can help me to plan. It's just really invaluable. And I've really never met anyone like Mark, in this space. I think he's just such a value add to really any real estate business that you're looking to get into or that you're starting. So yeah, so definitely check it out. So if you're interested in getting into real estate on a passive level, I help people with that. We have a deal flow, where we help people get into syndications, and we are offering deals that are more the 506B, having relationships. And so, minimum investments are 50,000. So, reach out to me. Like I said, I'm a big relationship person. I have to have relationship with people before I do business on any level, but I'm happy to educate you on what the power of passive investing can do for you. So I did drop my email in the comments. So reach out if you have any questions at all for that. Happy to help you. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you very much. And Cam.
Well, the first thing is that I'm a realtor here in Silicon Valley, so I would love any of your referrals. If you have anyone who's moving and coming to Stanford or working at one of the tech companies that are here in Silicon Valley, I hope that you can reach out to me and I can help with that. But I'm also a big supporter of helping women in terms of moms and women who we've pivoted. I've done that path. I'm on my third and fourth career. And in doing so, I think I found my happy medium where I can work on my own time, doing the things that I love in an industry that I love. And I think that real estate provides a lot of freedom for that. I've done STRs, the short-term vacation rentals. I've done international properties for short-term vacation rentals. I've managed property management here. I've owned a property management company for 7 years before selling it, and I've done development. So if that's something that I can help you with, let me know. Otherwise, if you come across a deal that you would like to partner with, do give me a call because I am looking, and I have a clientele that's also looking to invest passively. So we are actively looking for projects to partner with folks. Especially in some of the states that I'm focused on, it's Georgia, North Carolina, Texas. the tech states, since we're coming from tech, the tech states that are going out there. So reach out to me if you have any deals that you would like a second partner with or someone to sell it to. Give me a call.
Awesome. So my call to action, I want to talk about first my next webinar, which I'm really excited about. And this is on quitting your day job to go full-time into real estate and how we can create financial freedom. We're going to talk about that real estate professional tax status and all sorts of things that become available once you become a full-time self-employed hustler, and some tax strategies and business strategies to create that shortcut and help you give that perspective and make that plan. Really excited because a lot of people I know are looking to get there, and here are some ideas we can help you accelerate that process. Also, I provide free tax assessments, so if you have any questions on your prior returns, I evaluate them for free and see if there are any missed opportunities, and it's just to give a general high-level introductory assessment of what is going on and what opportunities are available based on your goals. And that is free, so if you're interested in having that, we can talk. And the last thing that I want to talk, I just want to thank everybody here for coming, and also Daniel for when he was here, because I think that we talk a lot about building relationships and adding value, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with all of you here and connecting with you through my abnormally strong obsession with taxes and tax strategy. And thanks for listening to me talk about strategy for all these hours with you, and letting me into your lives and letting me contribute to all of your businesses and personal finances. And thanks for being a host tonight, and I just appreciate everything. So thanks everybody, and just close it out. I'm going to be posting this all over YouTube and LinkedIn, and